I'd like to call the Nashville Town Council agenda meeting to order, please. Let us stand and have the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Let us pray. Father, we invite you into our meeting tonight to lead and guide us. Help us to make the best and the right decisions for the citizens of Nashville. Amen.
Amen.
Did we have any public input tonight? Okay, we do not have any people signed up for public input, so let's move on down our agenda. Do I hear a motion to go into a public hearing?
So moved.
Second. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
And Randy, I will start off by referring that to you.
Sure. Well, the first thing on our agenda tonight, back in 2015, the town entered into an inducement agreement between Carolina Gateway Partnership and Lee Balance, who has an LLC, for the construction of shell buildings out in the new Nash Commerce Park out on Cook Road. And it's been a number of years, and things haven't developed quite as quickly as were anticipated when that agreement was entered into. And at this time, Mr. Balance is proposing an amendment to that agreement. The terms of that amendment, part of the agreement, the town was did give Mr. Balance a couple of acres to build shell buildings on. He's built one. Hopefully that's leased up here real soon, and then he's required to start the second one. There were time performances in there for the second, third, and fourth building. All those milestones or deadline dates have come and gone. So this amendment extends those out. It also exchanges some of the land that the town gave to Mr. Balance in exchange for land. We're going to take some of his land, and he's going to take some of ours. So it'll be an exchange of 2.38 acres on one side of the cul-de-sac road in the park for the other. And then the other changes to that agreement, all the buildings were to be 10,000 square feet in size. The ones going forward, he proposes be 5,000 square foot in size. And the reason for that, as he had told us, is that a lot of the people that look at his shell buildings are kind of startup companies, and money is kind of tight, and it would be easier for them to afford a 5,000 square foot building than a 10, grow, and then expand onto the building, because all the buildings are required to be expandable on one end. So that's the gist of the amendments to that agreement, and this is a public hearing tonight then to hear public comment with regard to that.
Would anyone like to speak to this issue? We don't take a vote. If not, do I hear a motion to come out of the public hearing?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
The next item on our agenda is the quasi-judicial hearing. Do I hear a motion that we go into session for these hearings? Is there a second? All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
We have two to consider tonight. First is the issue considered SU 2019-02, and the second one to be considered is SU 2019-03. And before we do this, I need to ask for Tina to please come up and be sworn in. Do you swear that the evidence you shall give to the board in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you. We will begin with the issue considered the daycare facility SU 219-02. And Tina, would you address that, please?
Yes, ma'am. This is a residential location, 110 Arrowwood Drive in Wynwood subdivision. We have given out another site plan that needs to be entered into the record that everyone should have. And the staff report as well should be entered in. This is being requested by Wanda Holloway, and she is here this evening if you would like to ask any questions. It does meet all guidelines except for the shrubbery that should be put around the fencing, but she is willing to do that, so. Okay.
Council, do you have any questions, or is there anyone that would like to speak to this?
Mayor, I'd like to hear from Ms. Holloway.
Okay, Ms. Holloway. Ms. Holloway, come right here and state your name and your address, please.
She needs to be sworn in.
Oh, and you need to be sworn in, I forgot. Forgive me.
Get rid of it.
Right hand on the Bible. Do you swear that the evidence you shall give to the board in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you.
Hello, I'm a little nervous, but like they said, my name is Wanda Holloway. My address is 110 Arrowwood Drive, and I don't have any kids of my own, but I love kids, and I've always wanted to have a daycare, and hopefully it'll come true. That's it.
Any questions from the council?
Ms.
How many-
Holloway, how many kids are you anticipating keeping at one time in that location?
No more than 5. 5 is the max.
5 as you know.
Yeah.
How what your neighbors feel about this?
I talked to my neighbors, and they seem to be okay with it.
Seem to be okay?
Yes.
That's all I have.
Any others?
Are there any neighbors here tonight?
I have one.
The plantings that you're planning on putting in meet the requirements as far as height and the amount?
I haven't put them in yet because I was waiting to see if I'd be approved.
No, that you plan to put in.
Right.
Okay.
Will you be seeking the state certification, I'm sure, for a daycare?
Yes.
Okay.
And what hours do you plan on operating?
Basically probably between 6:30 and 5:30.
Any other questions? Thank you so much.
Okay.
Our second issue to consider tonight is SU 2019-03, and that's the.
Wait. Hold on.
Okay. Who wanted to speak? Okay, Jill.
Ask if there's anybody who wants to speak.
For or against.
Anybody that wants to speak for or against this daycare?
We have a neighbor here.
What about the neighbor?
Do you want to speak? Come on up. She
Gotta
has to be
swear in.
sworn in,
Yep.
doesn't
Yeah,
she? Does she have to be sworn in?
you have to swear everybody.
She have to be sworn in? Everybody has to be sworn in for this. Right hand on the Bible. Do you swear that the evidence you shall give to the board in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do. Good afternoon. I'm Sandra Joyner, and I have been the neighbor for over 30 years, and I know Miss Holloway very well, so I think it will be a good thing for her. She's a nice person. Knowing the family, they're great people. So I don't have no problem with it myself.
When you say neighbor, you mean neighbor in the neighborhood?
I
or
stay
neighbor
right
door?
next door,
You're next door.
next door neighbor, so I've been knowing them for a long time.
Okay.
Yeah, so I agree.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions, or would anyone like to speak?
I have a question for Julie. So I'm just looking at the requirements that we have here, and it seems like when it's in a residential district, and it's abutting residents, that you need to have a solid fence that's 4 feet high?
The way we're interpreting that is that the shrubbery will act as the solid wall between. So when she does the planting, she has the fence, and then the shrubbery will be the solid wall.
Even though it says "and"?
The way it's been interpreted in past cases
Okay.
has been. So we have past cases to go on.
Okay.
Are there any other questions or input?
There's a chain link fence around the property. Okay.
No more. We'll move on to the second item, and this, as I said, is SU 219-03, and this is the request to establish a nonprofit club and/or lounge at 901 Birchwood Drive. The lot is zone R10 and contains approximately 8 acres. Tina?
Huh? Oh, okay. The staff report needs to be entered as documentation. We need, location is, again, 901 Birchwood Drive. It is being requested for an Elks Lodge organization or home lodge that is currently in Rocky Mount. So it will stay basically what it is as a lodge. Yes, ma'am. So,
Do we have anyone that would like to speak to this? Okay, could you please come forward and be sworn in, please? I'm great, thanks. Right hand on that. Do you swear that the evidence you shall give to the board in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
I have a few questions.
State your name and your address,
My name is
please.
Covert Meyer. I live at 812 Beach Street, right across the street on the corner, across the street from what used to be the Birchwood Country Club. The big parking lot there, my house sits very close to the parking lot. And about the club, I'm more interested in what the projection of activities are for this club, any club, or whoever would buy it. Not interested in the activities, what goes on inside the building, but what goes on outside the building in the parking lot. Because I've lived there for 32 years, and I've seen a lot going on. I was a member of Birchwood for 20-some years, had a lot of parties, did a lot of things. But the tendency is for the party inside the building to migrate out into the parking lot. In the last 2 or 3 years, whoever's had the building, responsible for the building, have been renting out the building from time to time for parties or reunions or whatever the activity was. And there's been several instances that the party or the goings-on inside the building flows out into the parking lot with beer drinking and loud and profanity and beer cans everywhere. And so I'm concerned for that reason, especially as it gets late in the night. I mean, I got 2 bedrooms and a kitchen and a den 100 feet from that parking lot. And I've seen times, repeated times, that the activities in the parking lot becomes a real problem I've called the local PD about it. I've gone over myself personally, which I probably shouldn't have done, but as a homeowner there, I felt like I had the right to speak my mind about it, and that's what I'm doing tonight. So I'm concerned about whoever buys the property. I'm concerned about the activities that would flow out of the building into the parking lot and disturb me and my neighbors. There's 3 or 4 houses right in front of the parking lot, and I've seen it out of order in that parking lot multiple times. So that is my major concern about whether it's the Elks Club or the Moose Club or any kind of a private club. I'm concerned, it's a residential area, and I sure didn't expect for it to ever be turned into a business area. I don't consider this, I don't know how to, I'm not a zoning person. I'm concerned about what flows out of that building that would affect my property and my well-being and my peace of mind, because I have seen it get out of whack over there multiple times. So that's my concern.
Thank you so much for sharing your concern with us. We appreciate it.
Mr. Davis is here. He may want to address.
Mr. Davis, would you like to address any?
Or the applicant from the Elks, either one.
Yes, everybody has.
You need to be sworn in.
Do you swear that the evidence you shall give to the board in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God. Thank you.
Council members, my name is Harold Colston. I'm a member of the Rocky Mount Elks Lodge. A little over a year ago, our Elks Lodge in Rocky Mount suffered a pretty gigantic fire. We spent several months trying to see how much it would cost us to repair it, who we could get to do it. We finally concluded that the building was not repairable. We would have to move our lodge to another location. We spent several months looking at a large number of buildings in the Rocky Mount area, could not find anything satisfactory that we could afford. And finally, in August, we came across the Birchwood Country Club, which we determined was ideal for our operation because it has the facilities for basically everything we had been doing in the lodge that we had in Rocky Mount. The Elks Lodge rents their ballroom out for weddings, family reunions, birthday parties. We have at our present location for over 50 years now. We've never had, for any rental that we've never had the police called to the scene to my knowledge. Admitted we're not in a residential area, so I don't know, that might make a difference, but we've never had any problem, any trouble. No one's ever called us down on anything as far as these affairs are concerned. We will be planning on renting out the ballroom to these various activities, but I don't contemplate there being any problem at all on this. And so we're in the process now. We finally arrived at a satisfactory agreement with Mr. Davis as far as purchasing the building from him. We're going through the process now, doing those things that we're required to do in order to get possession of the premises. And we would like very much to see the council's agreement to give us the conditional use permit to go ahead and operate as an Elks Lodge in Nashville. If anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to try to address them.
Mr. Colston, excuse me. As far as the parties and the renting out that you do, how late do those activities usually go on?
Usually go to 12 o'clock. We have had a few occasions that the people wanted to stay later till 1, and where we are located, we had no problem with doing that. They paid additional rent to stay that additional time, but had no trouble or any problem with any of them.
Supposed to refresh my memory, where was your location that got damaged by fire?
North Church Street,
Down by where the old motorcycle place used to be?
across the street from that.
Gotcha.
It used to be the old Rio restaurant, the old Club Carlisle, if any of you remember that.
And this is a purchase and not a lease?
That's correct.
What is your intention for the pond and the pool area?
We don't have anything to do with the pool. Who am I addressing?
Over here.
We don't have anything to do with the pool. That's not part of our deal.
Let's go. Up here,
Right here.
behind the pole.
Okay, I'm sorry. Somebody jumped up out there. Okay.
That's okay, so you don't have anything to
I
do
didn't
with...
mean to ignore you.
No, that's okay. You don't have anything to do with the pool?
No,
So the pool is not a part of the purchase?
that's correct.
Just the clubhouse and the 8 acre?
That's correct.
Okay.
Does the 8 acres include the pool?
No.
No.
Any property on the side of the club property with it?
It's some,
I think.
I can't tell with these speakers in here and these people up here. Okay, what?
So none of the property on that side of
Ma'am,
You can't ask any questions unless you come up here and get sworn in, so come on.
come on up, please.
That's just the law. Ms. Gorham, that's just the law. Do you swear that the evidence you shall give to the board in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Okay, ask your question
At the podium.
at the podium. And give your name and address,
Tiny
please.
Gorham, 810 Beech Tree Drive. My question is, any property on that pool side of the club are you
No,
owning?
we're not involved with any of that.
Any of that on that side of the property? Right. And one other question. In addition to renting those area, the ballroom area and all of that, what is the function of the Elks Club? What activities would you be involved with having there?
The Elks Club is a fraternal organization. We socialize. Our primary mission is, assisting or working with veterans. That's our number one priority. Number two is youth programs. We have youth programs that we promote, and those basically are the two missions that we have. And then also, as I say, fraternal organization, we do socialize.
And that would be night meetings and night events as well?
Have dinners. Right now, we presently have dinner 2 nights a month, 3 nights a month, actually, excuse me. And we have race activities on Sunday afternoon for members to come watch the race, have a meal. So no, we're not a boisterous group. Our problem is we're too old.
Relate to that.
We're not able to get up and kick our heels like that. One of the things we look forward to coming to Nashville is we hope there's a large number of younger people in this vicinity that would like to join us. We're seeking members everywhere that we can find them. And so we hope that Nashville will accept us and that we can get a number of active members here to help us carry out our projects.
Okay. Would you have criteria for who you do rent the club, the building to for?
They've got to have money.
So is there really no application process when it comes to the rentals?
No,
Okay.
nothing except they've got to pay a deposit. Well, we take a security deposit. We're considering maybe requiring them to provide security themselves, private security. Well, that's a thing we've been talking about. We haven't found that necessary where we are. Looking at this, coming to a new area, that's one of the things we talked about. We haven't decided that yet. But it's certainly on our program.
What does the schedule look like for rentals? Is it often? Is it every weekend? Is it multiple nights during the week? Is it once a month?
Anytime somebody will come. Generally, it's a Saturday evening. A lot of them are Saturday afternoons for wedding receptions, and and birthday parties and whatnot. But we do rent it out for Saturday, or rent it out for any time. Where we are currently, before we had the fire, we rented it out Sunday morning to a church there in town. We'll rent it to anybody who's got money that doesn't tear the place up.
Okay. And will anything be taking place outside of the clubhouse, on the grounds, or all inside?
Just parking the cars.
Okay.
Well, in summertime, we'll probably have some hamburger cookouts or something out on the back portion of the property, but we don't have any other type of activities. Maybe once we get over there, we might have a yard sale one Saturday, because we're going to have the duplication of some equipment that we might want to get rid of some equipment, but that would be a one-time thing.
I do have another question I can't ask.
You can ask it.
Would there be, when you rent to, for events, would there be an Elks Club member on the grounds in the building?
Yes, we have a requirement that the Elks member has to be there at all times that it's rented.
I have an additional question. I don't need to come back that day, do
You've been sworn in, hasn't he?
He has.
They can't
You
pick
still
up
have
with the
to
mics.
come up here so she can get you in the mic.
Like I had said before, my concern, it's only because of my experience with that piece of property. And my house being so close to the parking lot. My concern is not about the Elks Club, it's about the people or groups that are gonna rent it for their activities. And what their behavior would be. So I assume the Elks Club would be responsible for the behavior of the group that's renting it from you. Like if it really got out of hand in the parking lot like I just described, which I've seen dozens of times in my 32 years there. And like I said, when it goes 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the mornings, and my wife and I are trying to sleep, and I'm 100, 150 feet away, it affects my life.
I understand your concern.
So do you have guidelines that you give to the people that want to rent the building, that you expect certain types of behavior?
We don't specifically say you've got to stay inside the building,
I'm not saying staying inside the building, I'm saying,
but it's
I
sort
think
of-
you know
sort
what
of-
I'm saying.
I know you don't want any disturbance. I don't know how to put that in a contract and enforce it. We certainly, we try to rent to people we think will not tear up our place, that will be mindful of the concerns of the surrounding people. Sometimes we might make a mistake, we might make a misjudgment of who we rent to, but that would be the last time we would rent to.
Well, and I know you would do your best to do that.
That's all we can
But we have,
promise you.
we have 4 or 5 families living right there.
We're aware of that.
And my only recourse would be I'd call the Nashville Police Department if I felt like it was out of hand. I don't want to have to do that. I would think,
I don't want you to have to do
I would
that.
think that you, whoever is responsible for the place, would make sure that whoever they are renting it to, there's got to be a person in charge of the group coming. I would think, that's renting it from you, that they would need to have an understanding about behavior and noise and drinking and cursing and all of that right in front of my yard.
We're certainly going to try to keep that under control.
I just wanted to make that a point, and I wanted the city to know, because if I have to call the city, I will call the city. I'll call you first, and then I'll call the city shortly after that.
All right, we expect that.
Okay, thank you.
I hope that's not necessary.
I hope it's not necessary too. I don't plan to move.
Mr. Colson, I was wondering if security could be a part of the requirement for events.
That's what I was
I think on an as-needed basis, we would want to insist upon that ourselves. Now, if we're having a wedding over there from 12 o'clock to 4 o'clock, I'm not going to, in the afternoon, I'm not going to require them to have police out there supervising the people coming to that wedding. If we've got a young group, I say young, but younger adults that are having some type of function over there, and that might be a thing we look at and say, this will be a requirement. You've got to have 1 or 2 officers here on site, the whole time. I think we look at that on an as-needed case basis, because we're interested and concerned about the same thing. We want to be a good neighbor. We don't want to come over here and create a problem that y'all want to send us home. But I don't think we would be in a position to say, well, we're going to require security every time. We're already going to charge a pretty decent rent on the place, and when we start adding additional cost on there for providing security, that's going to discourage a lot of people we want to rent to.
I think it would, sorry, go ahead.
From past experience here in Nashville, we've got 1 or 2 other places that rent out spaces for parties and weddings and stuff, very similar to what you're mentioning now. But I think it would be a great idea, and I'm not telling you how to run what you're going to be doing, but I think it would be a great asset to you if, when you, like I said, you have to, new millennial people and older people is a different breed of people.
I'm well aware of that.
Okay, different breed. And if you got something with everybody your age, I don't think we need anybody, because y'all gonna go to sleep. You gonna go to sleep till 12 o'clock anyway.
We won't be there at night.
You won't be there that late at night. But if you're gonna have a younger generation in there, I would suggest, and hope you take heed to this, that one of the requirements for renting it is that the people you're renting to, at their expense, would have to supply 2 officers on site during the duration of that activity. And not 1 officer, because I don't think the police department nor the sheriff's office would put 1 of their deputies or 1 of our police officers out there to do it by themselves.
I understand that.
So I would suggest that you would put in whatever contract you draw up, that they have 2 paid, either police officers or sheriff deputies on scene at their expense.
Right.
And I think that would be.
That certainly is one of the things that we would be looking at.
That would alleviate problems before it starts a lot of times, so. But that's all I have.
I think at the very least, if you took the advice of just handing a form saying, this is the behavior that we're expecting of you, this is what we're expecting not to happen, and have them put down a security deposit, that if the police officers are called to the scene for a disturbance of any manner, then you get to keep the deposit. Money usually works.
That's something certainly we should think about incorporating in the agreements that we'll have in renting it out.
And make sure you have something in there about cleaning up the parking lot if it's a mess, because you can
Well,
leave it till 1 o'clock in the morning.
That's
And all
where
that
the
trash is in the parking lot, but come the next morning, all that trash is across the street
Yeah.
in the neighbor's yard.
well, that's where the security deposit really comes in. We don't give the security deposit back until we go back and check the facility, the parking lot, and everything, and we use that to clean it up ourselves if that happens.
Okay.
Does anyone else have a question?
We have another hand.
Come and be sworn in. Do you swear that the evidence you shall give to the board and the actions shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thank you. State your name and your address, please.
Sandra Perez, 1002 East Birchwood Drive. My question is, I'm a new resident to the area, and one of the questions is, what are the requirements, or who can become a member of this club, and is there a fee involved? And the second question is, what kind of activities would be happening there during the week, during the daytime?
The requirements for becoming a member, you've got to be over 21 years of age, you got to believe in God. Those are the only 2 requirements. There is a fee involved. We have annual dues that you have to pay. There will be very little, if any, activity going on in the daytime. Right now, our lodge opens at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. We only open until about 9 o'clock at night. I'm hoping, though, to get a lot of members out of the citizens of Nashville, so that we will have more activity and can justify staying up more than that. But right now, we're just from 4 to 9 each day, and we don't conduct any activities during the daytime ourselves.
How will the residents in the area know what the fee will be? if anybody's interested in becoming a member.
Well, we're gonna have an open house and invite people to come by and show them the facility, talk with them, and give them an application that they could fill out if they would care to.
Oh, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Does anyone else have a question? Council, do you have any more questions?
I have a question for the planning department.
Okay.
So the fact that they're going to have events until midnight, 1 in the morning, would any granting of this affect what our ordinance already says about 10, 11 o'clock being the latest time that you would have noise or music?
Noise ordinances would still be in place.
Okay. Second part is, there seems to be some confusion about whether or not the pool is included in this application. Is the pool included? And if so, we should take it out since it doesn't seem to be part of the purchase price.
The applicant has said it's not part of the purchase.
Okay.
So we're only looking at the clubhouse.
Okay.
So in the special use regulations, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Is that
Yes,
better?
now we
Okay.
can.
I figured. So the only parts of the ordinance that will apply will be for the clubhouse proper and not for the parts about the pool.
So we won't be granting any special use permit for club use at the pool by
Correct.
granting this?
Correct.
Okay.
So parking regulations for the pool, the regulations for the pool itself on where it's located and how it's run are not applicable.
Okay.
I hope we're back in several months or a year talking to you about the pool, but that's not part of the deal now.
Okay.
If Mr. Davis still maintains ownership of it and will work with us to acquire it.
Louise, did you?
No, we were under the impression that the pool was a part of the purchase.
No,
So-
it is not.
That was not clear to the council.
That's to me. That's to me.
Is that it?
That's it, if that,
So I can clarify the parcels that you see on the map. Some of the confusion might be that they have, on the plat, they have parceled out the pool separately, the warehouses separately, and the ponds and the clubhouse separately. So they created 3 lots from the entire lot before. And what the applicant has said is they are only purchasing the pond and the clubhouse at this point. They are not doing the warehouse, which is lot 2, and the pool.
do any of the members of the planning board have any questions?
Is this consistent with all of the town's policies and plans?
Yes, at this time it is.
Julie, Tina, could you restate the question?
Yeah.
Yes, at this time it's consistent with the town of Nashville's regulations.
What are the hours for the noise ordinance?
That's in the police power, so it's not in the land use code, so I'm not quite sure. I can look it up for you if you give me 2 minutes.
Chief Puckett, do you know what the hours are for the noise ordinance? Okay.
Everybody's looking.
It was stated 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. are the quiet hours in a residential zoning district.
So would this special use override that rule? It would not.
So users of the clubhouse would have to comply,
Yes,
make sure they're not disturbing the peace after those hours,
that is,
or they would be subject to a police officer coming.
yes, sir.
And understand that that doesn't mean they have to shut down. It just means they can't be loud and noisy.
Outside.
Right, outside.
If there are no more questions, do I hear a motion for us to come out of the quasi judicial hearing?
So moved.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any comments from the council members? We'll start down there with you, Mr. Taylor.
As always, I'm glad to see the room at this capacity tonight. But it seems like we get people, when they got a concern to set their front door, they show up. But I'm glad to see everybody here tonight, and I hope you just keep it up, because it's always best to get the information firsthand, because you know, if you don't sit here and hear it yourself, the time you get it from the third person, the whole meaning of it has changed. So I'm glad to see everybody here. Appreciate their participation, and that's all I have for tonight.
I'd just like to thank everyone also for being here tonight and encourage you to perhaps to stay in touch with Mr. Colston if you do have some concerns. Obviously, the council can only deal with this issue as it relates to special use. So we are, if this does go through, we're certainly looking for the Elks Lodge to be good neighbors and for all of us if they do get here.
I can't say enough about security when there are events. Having security on site is very important. With today's behaviors, you never know. So I encourage that.
I too want to thank everyone for coming out tonight, and especially thank you to those who spoke. We really appreciate you getting up and telling us your views on what's happening in your neighborhood, so thank you.
And I'd like to thank you for coming out too. It's always nice to see, okay, excuse me.
Just a reminder, the board is not allowed to speak to each other or the public in regards to this issue.
So don't ask
Until
us any
Tuesday.
questions at all, please.
Until Tuesday.
But thank you so much for coming out, and to the Elks Club that's looking to come to Nashville. We're a great town. We want to be a loving town, and we want to be the best we can be, so we will welcome you with open arms, and we would hope that you would make us proud to have you in our town, and I believe you will. If there are no other questions from the council, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you for coming out, and have a great evening. Did you want me to ask